Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we're going to be recapping quite a lot of information about the macro bounce we've just seen, where we've seen that bounce from, why it's so important, and why it's so important that this bounce actually succeeds. Because Bitcoin, in my opinion, can't really go down again properly while remaining healthy. I think we really need to maintain this bounce, and this has got to be the bounce that sends us upwards more or less. Now, I'm macro bullish on Bitcoin. I'm confident that that will occur, but we need to look into it a little bit more in a little bit more depth and precision than what we've done before. But also just recapping all of that information. So before we get into any of that today, guys, check out the Bitcoin exchange. This is a brand new exchange we're referring on this YouTube channel. It's global non-KYC. It's a smaller exchange. It's very low in trading fees. It's never been hacked before. It's got reserves information all set, but it is a smaller exchange, so keep that in mind. But it's global non-KYC. We've also got BingX and BitGet, which we usually advertise. All of those referral links are down below for a 15% trading fee discount for life on those exchanges. So check out those links down below. Sign up, takes 60 seconds, helps the channel and helps you get on a good exchange as well. Let's get into the actual content here. I'm going to start by talking about the macro price action, okay? Where has this bounce actually come from? Well, there's a few places this bounce has come from. There's a few reasons why this bounce has materialized, and all of these were predicted very well on this YouTube channel. We discussed them extensively. A lot of this is going to be recapping the first half of this video at least. So first and foremost, okay, where do we bounce from? We bounce from 57,000. 57,000 being a very major support zone on Bitcoin for various reasons, okay? There it is, the 57K bounce. Now, one of those reasons is it's just a vague horizontal support level. We look at the volume profile, for example, we see there's a very major spike on the volume profile up here at 57K, 57.5K. Obviously, a volume profile spike. I like to think of it as hills and valleys in the volume profile, right? So, for example, there's a hill here. If we're running towards the hill, we're getting lower and lower towards it. Eventually, we're going to have to climb that hill, and climbing a hill is very difficult. It's very easy to fall towards a hill. It's very difficult to climb a hill. And so that spike in the volume profile was a major block of support for that reason, and it led to a strong bounce. But it wasn't the only thing that caused that bounce. A few more things were. Again, as I've discussed on this channel extensively, the bull market support band, a very, very major indicator that has been absolutely critical to the Bitcoin price action on a macro scale. It's been a fundamental indicator for Bitcoin bull markets. For example, the entirety of this bull market here in 2015, 2016, and 2017 was maintained above that bull market support band. Every time we went down and touched it, we bounced upwards. Very similar story in 2021 to a lesser extent, but still a very major indicator. We bounced off that level, great to see. We also bounced off the pi cycle center lines in yellow and green on the screen right here. Those are lines, again, that we held very majorly in the 2015, 2016, 2017 run-up. Also held pretty majorly in the 2020, 2021 bull market. And right now we can see we've actually held it quite significantly in the last kind of two significant corrections back here in January and also over here in April. On top of these three things, we have a fourth reason why we bounced from that level, and that was the 13-year long ascending support line on Bitcoin in yellow on the screen, cutting through the entirety of Bitcoin's historical price action and perfectly centered on 57K at the time of that bounce, to support and to kind of act in conjunction with those other indicators, the bull market support band, pi cycle midlines, all those things we just talked about, right? There's a very good reason we bounce from that level, and it goes even further than that, right? If we look into other charts, we can look into, for example, the BLX on Bitcoin. And we can see very clearly here, if we just remove the stochastic RSI for a second, we can see the RSI, right? What do we have in the RSI here? We have a yellow line on the RSI at 67, okay? That's the level it's at. We also have yellow lines in the price chart, right? Each cycle, we have this yellow line that kind of divides the bear market price action from the parabolic bull market price action in each kind of cycle. Bear market price action here, parabolic bull market price action once we break above it. Same thing back here, and exact same thing over here. Bear market price action, once we break above it, we enter that parabolic bull market. Once we break above it, we see the strongest monthly candle we've seen in many, many months on Bitcoin, right? Now, these yellow lines in the price chart, they're not arbitrary. They're not just drawn in there for no reason. They're actually stationed and relative to that RSI line that I just talked about at 67. And what you'll notice is that every time we test those yellow lines in the price chart, we also test this line on the RSI, meaning they are connected, okay? What we've actually done here on Bitcoin is we've broken that yellow line in the price chart preemptively, and we've come back downwards on the RSI, and we've seen a resistance support flip. And where did that flip happen? It happened at 57K. We bounced from the relative level, right, on the RSI that was relative to 57K, right? So that's another reason we saw that 57K bounce, and we can go even further, right? I'm just really trying to give you, to an extent I haven't really done before in one compiled clip, a true grasp of how major that 57K level was and is still. If we look at stochastic RSI, all right, and this is something a lot of bears were actually quite threatened by. They were looking at this chart and they were thinking, oh, look, every time the red and yellow lines, the orange and blue line on stochastic RSI crosses below the yellow line I've just drawn in, we enter a bear market, right? Happened over here, happened over here, happened over here. Every time it happens, we've entered bearish price action, okay? On the price chart, I can go back and cross-reference that, or you can do it yourself. Fact of the matter is that's what's happened. And right now, obviously, the orange and blue lines in stochastic RSI are heading towards that yellow level and perhaps threatening to break down below it. But what people didn't realize is that we see reversals at the last minute all the time. We saw one over here, okay, in 2016, and we saw one over here literally just 6 months ago, all right? So if we were going to see a reversal back to the upside, it was going to happen at 57K, because if you look at where that blue line is, it is on top of the major level right now as we touch 57K, right? So that's just another example of how needed and how strong that 57K level was, and another example of just the true power and the true macro importance of that bounce. So I'll say this, right? That 57K bounce was expected, not only expected, very, very strong, very, very important, but also the cyclical norm. And this is great because in a time in which, people are doubting the cyclical trends and stuff like that, including myself to an extent, it's great to see a bounce occur in such a cyclically normal way, right? It's always happened like this. It's always happened off the bull market support band. It's always happened off the center lines of the price cycle. These are very, very normal things to see. So that in reality, that correction we saw was really a perfect correction. It really was a perfect correction. And it came at a great time as well, because even if we look into patterns at the total 3 cryptocurrency market cap chart, right? So this is a chart that shows the entire value of the cryptocurrency market minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. So kind of the value of altcoins. We see that it has this kind of 5-step pattern, okay? And we've kind of copied that pattern exactly. I'm not going to dive into it too deeply because you've seen it before if you've watched this channel before, but we've kind of copied that structural pattern to the T, and we're on the last step of that pattern right now before we see a parabolic bull market. So really, the 57K pullback, if we're going off this structural pattern, which I think we have reason to believe is the structural pattern we're seeing play out again, that pullback we just saw to 57K should have been the last pullback before that parabolic bull market begins. And this is why I said at the start of the video, I'm going to get into the short term now, that it's very, very important that Bitcoin maintains this move to the upside and doesn't go back down again. If we drop below that 57K level again, I don't see a cyclical reason. I don't see a structural reason for that. I think that would be abnormal, and that is going to be a threat. So 57K still is the critical level for now, but we can even take that a little bit further and we can say, well, even 61K is a critical level for now because we want to be maintaining higher lows, right? All right, so let me draw out a few levels for you here, and then I'll explain this. 57K right there. We've got 61K right here. Very, very important level in the short term and also the macro. We've got 67K, which is an important level right now. And we've also got the all-time high up here. And we could even draw in 69K as well, just to kind of thicken out this chart a bit. Now, we've got many critical levels on the screen. Okay, I'm going to explain them briefly, and I'm going to explain what I meant in a second here, right? So 57K, of course, that macro support zone, very important for bouncing. 61K, the range bound support zone that is held for the most part, minus that correction down to 57. 67K is our short-term resistance zone that we need to be breaking above to confirm this upwards trend and break this recent high over here. So that is our immediate term level, 67K. We'll look at that again in a second. 69K is resistance, and the all-time high, of course, is resistance as well. So let's delete 69K and the all-time high for now and just focus in on these 3 levels here, okay? I just said to you that if Bitcoin drops below 57K, that's very, very bad news because we'll be entering a downwards trend. But realistically, the bounce we saw at 57K was perfect. Therefore, I don't even want to be seeing Bitcoin drop below 61K because I want to be maintaining an upwards trend with higher highs and higher lows, right? I'm happy for Bitcoin to correct downwards, go back to 61, bounce from there and go upwards. But I think even dropping below 61 again would be making me a little bit uncomfortable. So I would actually say that 57K, of course, is the be-all, end-all, but 61K is also an important level right now that we need to be maintaining in order to secure kind of that upwards trend and keep it intact, okay? Because that 57K bounce we saw was perfect. There's no reason to go do it again. That's what I'm saying. But as for the short term looks great at the moment. I'm not going to lie to you. We've got some sort of head and shoulders pattern playing out here at the neckline at 67K. It's really great to see. It's not a perfect head and shoulders. I could zoom in and show you that it's not perfect, but it realistically is a vague head and shoulders. And hopefully this 67K level is broken and flipped, because that is kind of this resistance zone we've faced. If we zoom in a little bit here, 4-hourly chart, we'll go and take a look here. You can see, again, head and shoulders is playing out there. It's great to see. If we broke out of the neckline, which is at 67K, we could take a measured move from that neckline break. That would take us basically right above our all-time highs to around that 77, 78K level. Obviously, measured moves aren't totally reliable from patterns like that, but they are a good indicator of where Bitcoin could go. So I'm really, really hoping we see that 67K breakout sooner rather than later. Again, it's okay if we see a pullback before seeing it, but ideally we'd want to be seeing it now, because we do have this great structure intact, head and shoulders structure intact, to kind of drive that upside breakout with a lot more force than it otherwise would if we corrected first. But again, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you saw a correction. In a lot of ways, actually, what we're seeing right now is very similar to what we saw over here. It's just flipped the other way around. So again, over here, we saw 3 significant peaks, okay, with an uptrending support line. We broke downwards. Right now, we've got kind of 3 significant troughs with kind of a support line, I guess you could draw like that, which we could break upwards. So we're seeing kind of the same pattern, roughly, that we saw over here, playing out over here to the reverse, which of course is bullish this time because we're flipping it around. So short-term developments are looking good so far. I want to see that 67K level broken clearly and flipped. That's what I want to be seeing, over the next, let's say, week. If we do see a correction first, again, it's not the end of the world, but that would be great to see if we saw it break clean. So macros very much intact. That 57K spot we bounced from was perfect. It was a really good bounce, and everything's going quite well for Bitcoin right now. Hopefully it can keep it up. That's really all I have to say, guys. I thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, go ahead and check out a few things. Obviously the exchanges we discussed at the start of the video, but also the VIP group on Telegram. If you want altcoin trading signals with buy signals, buy alerts, stop loss, take profit, recommendations, all that kind of stuff, it's all there in my VIP group on Telegram. On top of the trading signals, you also get access to a 24/7 VIP group chat where you can discuss the market 24/7 with other members. There's 120 members in there, so you can join that exclusive community. Go ahead and check it out. And then finally, if you want to learn how to trade, educate yourself in the market, educate yourself in the charts, you can do so with the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader 10-unit course. We've been teaching people how to trade in there for almost 2 years now. It's going very, very well so far. I highly recommend you join up there. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you soon.